There really were no roads in Machias back in 1763. In fact, we really didn't build any roads for a while after we first settled here. We navigated on the ocean and the rivers in ships and small boats. In April of 1763, we boarded Captain Buck's coaster down in Scarborough, and we sailed down east from Machias Bay. We call it down east because the winds typically blow in that direction, so we were sailing downwind to the east. The ship was old, but Buck had maintained her well, so we knew that she was seaworthy. The weather during our trip was downright dreadful. It took us 3 weeks to make it to Machias, when it should have only taken us a third of that time. During one storm, we tried to take shelter by sailing in behind an island, and our ship hit a large rock. We were okay, and our ship wasn't really damaged, but a canoe that we had tied above the sails broke free and fell down. That canoe landed right on Mr. Barry's cow and killed it dead. Mrs. Barry and Mrs. Larrabee went ashore that evening and they baked some fresh bread, and we ate poor Mr. Barry's cow for our evening meal. We couldn't afford to have anything go to waste. We were really anxious to reach Machias Bay and get started cutting some of the large white pine trees that we'd heard about. We all brought saws and axes and milling tools with us on the ship. We finally dropped anchor here in Machias on May 20th, 1763. In fact, we dropped anchor too close to shore, and when the tide dropped, the ship leaned over so bad that everyone had to go ashore until she floated again. We weren't too happy about having to walk up across the mudflats to reach dry ground. The ocean tides rise higher and lower here than they did in Scarborough, Plymouth, or Boston. We were not used to dealing with such big changes in ocean tides rising up and down. We scouted around Machias and found that there were 3 rivers here. To the west was a big set of falls at what we named West River. That area was picked out as being a perfect location for a sawmill. The smaller falls over on East River also looked promising for setting up wood mills and grist mills. And in between the 2 rivers was what we called Middle River. Middle River had plenty of marsh hay to feed livestock. There were some locations on Middle River further upstream that could have mills, but those were hard to reach unless there was a very high tide. The marsh hay on Middle River was exactly what we needed to feed our oxen and our horses. The river herring, also known as alewives, and shad were running when we arrived here in May. The rivers were full of thousands of fish. We had eaten these fish in the past, and we knew that they were a very valuable food source. We ate some of the fish fresh that year, but we did not have time to smoke any because we had to build homes and a wood mill. We also did not have enough salt to cure them before smoking them. As the years went on, we began building smokehouses to cure fish so that they would last longer without spoiling. Eventually, we even had salt farms out on Salt Island, where we collected salt by evaporating ocean water. We cleaned the alewives and the shad, and we would salt them down and hang them on sticks to go in the smoke shed. Smoked alewives are delicious. Everyone loves eating them. Sometimes the children sneak into the smokehouse and eat them right off the racks. Once you start eating them, you can't stop. Late in the summer, we caught some mackerel and we smoked them too. In August of 1763, more of the wives and children came to Machias. It was so much better with children running around laughing and playing games, and of course helping with chores.
You come help me too. Because if you don't, Dad's gonna be really mad. Oh. Dad's home. I can't do it like this. I can't do it.
That first year, we built log homes 18 feet square. It was crowded, but we were comfortable. Some of the cabins had 2 families in them, with a wall dividing the cabin into 2 halves. Those people were extra cozy, but it was a lot easier heating them during the winter months. The first mill was built at the top of West Falls on the northern shore of the river. We didn't have enough oxen that first winter to pull the logs to the West River above the mill. So we decided to cut trees all winter long on Middle River. And when the ice went out in the spring, we floated those logs down the river into the Maine River, and on an incoming high tide, we floated them up to the bottom of the falls, and then we hoisted them over the falls up to the mill. This was a lot of extra work, but that first year we had no choice. The men sawed the logs into boards. In fact, we made 1,600,000 board feet that very first year that we were here. You know, there's nothing quite like the smell of freshly sawn pine board. As soon as the logs were at the mill, some of the men sailed south to Plymouth and married women they had previously met and moved them back to Machias. Machias was growing day by day. Bye.